Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That is Jack. I am Conrad, and this is the Footy 5, where we're going to take a look at the UEFA Champions League for 1920, the group stage preview predictions, see what we get wrong. So, the UEFA Champions League comprised of 32 teams, 16 countries, split into 8 groups. UEFA takes all the leagues in Europe and breaks them down by coefficient and ranks them, and the top 10 leagues put 24 teams in automatically through to the group stage. The top 4 leagues each get 4 teams. That would be Spain, England, Germany, Italy. The names you know, the Madrids, the Liverpools, the Cities, the Dortmunds, the Bayerns, Atalanta, the lone debutant from those top 4 for this year. The next 2 leagues, France's League One and the Russian Premier League, each get 2 teams through. And then you have the domestic champions from Portugal, Ukraine, Belgium, and Turkey that put 1 team through, obviously the domestic champions. And that leaves 6 other spots, but there's the interesting thing this year is Liverpool and Chelsea both won the European competitions. Liverpool, obviously, Champions League winners, and Chelsea won the Europa League, and that means that they also qualify, and they also qualified in their domestic league. So one of those 2 spots were up for grabs. And what they do is the next best league champion, which would be Austria, the Austrian league, Salzburg goes through, and then League One gets Lyon through their 3rd place team, and that replaces that Chelsea spot. And that leaves 6 additional teams that reach through a qualification process, which was Bruges from Belgium, Slavia Praha, Czech Republic, Ajax from the Eredivisie, which is insane, right, given that they were semifinalists last year and just a hair away from making the final against, losing to Tottenham. Olympiacos from Greece, Dinamo from Croatia, and then Serbia's Red Star Belgrade. And that's your 32 teams from 16 countries, 8 groups, and on we go to Group A. Before we settle on Liverpool, obviously the title holders, their 6th title. Then we have the UEFA Champions League Group A, comprised of PSG, obviously through because of the French champions. The best they've ever done is a semifinal, which is hard to believe considering how much money they spent. Madrid, they were 3rd in La Liga. They are a 13-time champion, which is just an insane number. Bruges, they were the Belgian runners-up. They've made a final. And then Galatasaray, the Turkish champion, they have made a semifinals their best showing.
You look at that group, and those are not small names between any of the 4 of them. Real Madrid, obviously the biggest name. But you think about it, there's 13 Champions League titles in that group, and all 13 come from Madrid, obviously.
From one group.
It's crazy to think about that because, especially with PSG in recent years, have spent boatloads of money. And after keeping Neymar at your club, he is, I think, when he's healthy, he's the 3rd best player in the world, which is no small feat because he's playing behind the 2 greatest to ever do it, in my opinion, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. So they have him still there. They still have Mbappe. They add in Mauro Icardi, signed Idrissa Gana Gueye from Everton. These are all great signings.
Navas.
Exactly, yeah. A lot of good upgrades to their side, and it's interesting to see how they fare because this is definitely a group where 2 top dogs, 2 bottom dogs, and the fight between Bruges and Galatasaray is going to be for who gets that 3rd place spot and who gets to qualify for the Europa League in that spot, going into the knockout stages from there. But I think that honestly, it's 1A, 1B in this group. It's not too much to look into.
I mean, Madrid, they've got, obviously they brought in Hazard. They've got the problem between Zidane and Bale. Who the hell knows what's going to happen there? It's a strange situation. They spent a ton of money on Hazard, Jovic, Militao, Mendy, Rodrigo. I mean, it's an insane amount. I mean, $350 million.
Is they do not come in and they say next year these guys are going to dominate. I don't think Rodrigo or Eder Militao or even Jovic are going to come in and instantly be world beaters. These are long-term guys. These are very smart purchases because for the next 5-6 years, these guys are going to grow and they're going to be the new staples. So you think of a Marcelo, you think of a Sergio Ramos as the kind of guys who are the figureheads of Real Madrid's long-term success. They're getting older. You need to replace them. Eder Militao, Rodrigo are the perfect kind of guys. And you also have that star power of Eden Hazard. I think that we both have Madrid at number 1 in this group. I think it's clear because they have that prestige in the competition and they have that history of being successful versus PSG, who just flat out do not have that. And honestly, that's the biggest difference between the 2 sides.
Everybody makes a big deal of Zidane having won 3 titles in 3 trips, but he also had Ronaldo, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
So it's a big asterisk there, if you could say.
Right. Bruges, I've got them third. You've got them fourth. They do have a USA keeper in Ethan Horvath. Don't know whether he's going to be starting or not. Maybe losing his job, but I
think that
I don't.
the stadium and the home atmosphere of Galatasaray offers enough.
Nobody
fear
wants to go
factor,
there.
Yeah, it offers enough
Yeah.
fear factor that they could grab a point, maybe even 3 off of Real Madrid or PSG. So that's why I honestly think that those more stable points make Galatasaray a higher favorite to finish in that third place spot over Bruges.
I mean, Galatasaray have got some good players. I mean, they picked up Babel and Seri from Fulham on loan. They've got Steven Zonzi from Roma, but
Big names,
not enough to obviously overtake the top two.
possibly.
Champions League Group B, we've got Bayern. They are 5-time titleists, Bundesliga champion, obviously. Spurs, their best showing was a final, obviously, last year, and a lackluster appearance with Liverpool. They were the 4th place team from the Premier League. Olympiacos, Greek runners-up, they've reached a quarterfinal. Red Star Belgrade, one-time winner. Who knew? Serbian champions. Don't expect a whole lot from them.
Honestly, a lot of these groups are 2 big teams who highly expect to go through. Because honestly, with any of these first couple of groups, if it's not the first, second team listed, you're going to be shocked that they are not getting through, and that's going to be a colossal failure. Because you look at Spurs, they've gotten the taste of it. They don't have the long-term experience that other sides have. I mean, Bayern are a 5-time winner. They're one of the most prestigious sides in European competition versus Spurs. They're a relatively newer team to that.
Very consistent over the last 4 years in a row. They've made Champions League.
Exactly, yeah, and they finally made it to a final, so they'll have that taste of we want to get back there and have a chance to redeem ourselves. So they have high aspirations. Bayern, of course, have high aspirations. They want to rebound from what was a disappointing year last year. Round of 16 elimination in the Champions League and a close title run with Dortmund. That's not really how you want your season to go. You want to dominate the league and you want to have a good run in the Champions League. But they had neither of those things. And so it's going to be interesting to see how both these teams bounce back from disappointment. I think more disappointing for Bayern per se, but still a lot of interesting storylines coming out of that group.
Well, and obviously Bayern losing Ribery and Robin, replacing with Coutinho and Perisic. So, again, not one-for-ones, but you're bringing good quality back into the side.
Yeah.
Lua always scores. You know, it's 36 goals in 52 games. It's an insane clip for Champions League performance. Like, that's crazy. They spent money. Spurs, they're hurt a little bit, I think, with Lo Celso going out for 8 weeks. That will hurt them in these early group stage matches, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But we've both got them, 1 and 2. I've got Bayern. I don't feel real good about it, although the Lo Celso injury and Sessegnon still not being fully healthy, makes me feel a little bit better. But this doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence. And then Olympiacos and Belgrade, rounding it out.
Yeah, I think that the big difference is, I think that 36-year-old Robin Ribery are not nearly as good as prime Coutinho, prime Perisic. Obviously, you roll back the years on those two guys, they're going to be better at those times, but Bayern have made upgrades there. However, they've made a lot of changes, so it's going to take more time to bed them in, and that's why I feel like Spurs have a chance to get out onto a good start, onto a good note, and take advantage of that bedding in time that they're going to need for Bayern. That's the theme that I have for a lot of my group picks is which side is most consistent and has the best long-term vision.
Least turnover.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. That's how I feel this group is going to turn out.
UEFA Champions League Group C. Now, we've got City. Their best position ever is a semifinalist. Obviously, they're the Premier League champions. That's their qualification. Shakhtar, they're the Ukrainian champions. The best they've ever done is a quarterfinal. Dinamo Zagreb, they're the Croatian champion by like 28 points or 25 points or something like that. Just ran away with it. They've made the group stage. And then Atalanta, this is they're the third-place team in Italy, and this is their debut season in the in the Champions League.
Yeah, very interesting to see how this is probably the most unique group in the sense that there's a huge dog. I mean, Man City are one of the favorites for the competition, and then you have 3 guys who are all fighting for that second-place spot. So in that sense, it offers a lack of interest because you have a strong belief of who's going to finish first. But like we have different perspectives over who's going to be able to sneak in that second-place spot. And I think that's an equally interesting part is these smaller sides getting a chance to make a big run. Ajax last year had that Cinderella story run when they made it all the way to the semifinals.
Young team, very young team.
Exactly, yeah. And Atalanta, they're a debut side. They will look at this group and they will say, this is about as good a chance
We've got a
we've
shot.
got.
This could not have broken better for them.
It could not
No,
have.
I mean,
I don't think there was a way that the chips could have fallen in a better way for them. They will look at this and say, second place, we can get through. And
We've got a shot.
the money pool that you get from that, this is the kind of thing where smaller sides who manage to have a good season can really break through. We saw Leicester when they got through to the Champions League. They really failed to capitalize. They lost a lot of their key players, and they lost a lot of that momentum. But if you see Atalanta break through into the knockout stages, maybe even win a leg, maybe that's a little too ambitious for them. But the amount of money you'll get from that and the amount of experience and exposure your club will get can only help you. And that's why the groups...
The money is going to be a big shot in the arm
Exactly.
for them.
That's why
Huge.
we're the groups where you say maybe a smaller dog can qualify through is where you're really excited for them, because more diversity and more depth to the sport is obviously always a fantastic thing to see.
I've got Atalanta going through as a second place team here. You've got Shakhtar. Nobody wants to go to that stadium. Nobody wants to go. You go to Ukraine. It's a long haul,
Yeah.
right? And I think they could easily pick up points from Dinamo and Atalanta,
And they have experience
Will they-
playing City over the past couple of years.
right?
So they won't
But I-
fear really anything in this group.
No, I don't think so. I think that this is more of a heart pick than a head pick, wanting Atlanta to go through, Atalanta
I
to
would
go
love
through,
to
but
see Atalanta go through. I just think it's a little too early for them. I'm hoping that they continue their success, though. They're a really good story.
UEFA Champions League Group D. Here we've got Juventus. They are two-time winners, Serie A champions. They have lost 7 European Cup finals. 7. It's a big number. Atletico Madrid, second place La Liga. They've made a final. Bayer Leverkusen, they're the 4th place Bundesliga side. They've made a final. And then Lokomotiv Moscow, the Russian runners-up, they have made a last 16.
And this is one of my favorite groups. I go back and forth which one is my actual favorite. But this one's really fascinating to look at, because those three sides, you look at that at first glance and you say, yeah, I think Juventus and Atletico Madrid are the two big dogs, and then Leverkusen and Moscow are the two smaller ones. And you think it's one of those typical storylines. I think it's actually kind of a bit of a sleeper team there. I think that the dark horse in this competition is going to be Leverkusen. I think that they've got a really good setup for their squad. They've also got Kai Havertz, one of my favorite players to watch. He's a super young next wonder kid, and he's the next guy up. I think that they have a legitimate shot at this group, and that's why it's going to be really fascinating to see if neither Juventus or Madrid, or if one of Juventus or Madrid start to become more dominant over the other ones. So say Juventus beats Atletico, and Atletico are struggling to bed in, which I expect to happen, honestly. I think that...
Oh, they've had so much change.
I mean, you lost Lucas Hernandez, you lost Antoine Griezmann, you lost
Rodri.
I believe you lost Diego Godin. Correct me if I'm wrong, and then you obviously bring in
Rodri.
João Felix, a
Gone.
phenomenally talented player, but he's young. A lot of change in this side, and that means that a lot of question marks. And I think that honestly, Leverkusen are more bedded in, and that's why I have a bit of a shock result in our predictions. I think, and at least that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, I've got Madrid going top. You've got them dropping to the Europa League,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't. Again, this is one of those that I don't feel real good about. You know, just given how much turnover that Atletico have had, but Diego Simeone grinds out 1-0 victories in the Champions League. Like that, he's exceptionally good at that. He knows how to set up a side, and he can play Juventus in that slow, plodding Italian fashion and take points from them.
I think
no question.
The big thing for Leverkusen that's going to separate themselves in this group, can they play without fear? Can they go at the big sides? If they go winless against the top two teams against Madrid and Juve, there's no chance they qualify, honestly. They have to get, I think, a result. Ideally, get a result against both of them. That way you put yourself in the best position to capitalize on a drop of points. Because we're just completely ignoring Lokomotiv Moscow as well. They're not a team to be just shushed off. They are also a team that could pose a threat to you. So I think that honestly that...
They got 1 point out of the group stage last year. 1 point.
Exactly. But
That's terrible.
not a good showing for them last year, but you never want to write a team off. I think that
Well, again, that's another
my-
tough place to go play.
That's my logic with Bayer is if Atletico or Juventus write them off, that's bad news for them.
They could drop points, and then they could step in and easily take it.
Exactly.
Champions League Group E. We have the defending title holders, Liverpool. They qualified 2 different ways. We talked about this earlier. 6-time winners. Napoli, Serie A runner-up. Their best they've ever done is a last 16. Salzburg, Austrian champions, group stage. Genk, Belgian champions, group stage.
That surprises me, honestly, the Napoli best place. When I think of Napoli, I think of a side that's pretty good domestically, really good, or pretty good, I think, intercontinentally, but just not quite as good as I would have expected, honestly.
No, I mean Liverpool looking to go to 3 finals in a row, which I think would be the first time that's happened for an English team.
Possibly, yeah.
They're
They're not one of the
unbeaten at
favorites.
Anfield in the last 5 years. They have not lost in 5 years at home
Yeah,
in the Champions League.
It's crazy.
Which is crazy.
Anfield is a dominant stadium. We talk about places you don't want to go. Anfield, not because of the trip, it's just the pure atmosphere and the way you feel swallowed on the pitch is why it's such a bad place to go to. Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger, Pep Guardiola have all said, yeah, it sucks going there because it's just so difficult to because you can train your players on the tactics, you can train them on how to be prepared for situations on the field, but you can't really prepare them for the pressure that you can feel.
It's just loud. Yeah.
It's loud.
I mean, it's
and the atmosphere's insane. That's why they had that miraculous comeback against Barcelona. Overall, Liverpool, they haven't won a title in almost 30 years in the Premier League. So that's beginning to become their major goal in their minds. However, they are up there with Real Madrid, maybe with AC Milan. The sides that you look at them and you say, they are, when I think of the Champions League,
European royalty.
I think of the sides that show up in those big games, and that's Liverpool. And that's why we both have them absolutely cruising through this group. And I think that it's pretty much from that point on, Napoli, you think, should get through, have a chance to one-up their best place finish, but other than that, not a ton to talk about, honestly, in this group.
No, I think this will be a walk for Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool and Napoli played in the same group last year, and if not for that Becker save, Napoli goes through, and history is completely different.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But Liverpool recovered from that and played well. For the
That
rest
shows
of the
you what happens when
knockout
we have those
stage.
groups with 3 big teams. You look at the last group we looked at, Juve, Atletico, and Bayer Leverkusen. All those sides want to qualify. One of them will not. And in the end, Napoli was the one who was not, but it was very close to Liverpool being the one who wasn't. So you think about it, if a few things change, the overall just group completely flips on its head.
Yep, it's insane.
And another
One result can turn first place into third place.
Exactly, and a great example of that is the next group coming up.
Yeah, no, Group F, UEFA Champions League Group F. This is the group of champions, if you will call it, the group of death, whatever. Barca, La Liga champions, 5-time champions. Borussia Dortmund, second place finishers in German Bundesliga, they've won once. Inter, Serie A, fourth place, they've won 3 times. And then there's Slavia Praha, who've made a group stage, the Czech Republic champions. But if you take that 5, 6, that's 9 titles amongst those top 3 teams in this group. That's still 4 less than Real Madrid have in their entire history.
Yeah,
that tells you just how dominant Madrid have been.
That's the crazy stat, is those 4 out of 5 years when Madrid won those Champions League titles, that's what really separated them from being
the Decima and then 3 more after that.
To being absolutely insane. I think this group is probably the biggest, most heavyweights in there. You look at Inter, you recently signed Conte as your manager. Your goal is take a step up and keep on moving forward. Barcelona, you don't need to say it. Barcelona's one of, if not the biggest name in football, maybe up there with Real Madrid. And Dortmund, on the other side, huge aspirations, and they're going to want to try and get through as well.
And they've got a USA player, Gio Reyna.
Exactly.
Go
It's really,
Reyna.
really, really tough to pick who you think has the best shot here. And the only thing you can really say consistently is Slavia Praha is finishing 4th.
Yeah,
and that was
they
the
may
joke,
not
is
get
when
any points.
Their owners, when they saw that they were drawn into that group, they were saying, "Yeah, this is a little bit of an."
We'll take the check. Thank you very much.
Exactly what they're gonna say. 0 points, honestly, and they won't be looking at their manager questioning it. These are big teams.
No, this is a terrible draw.
And surprisingly, honestly, we didn't even plan this. We had this exactly the same, and I think that I'll speak my logic first. Is Conte is bringing a whole new system to Inter. Valverde,
3 big new players. He's got Lukaku,
Yeah.
Godin, and Sanchez.
Yeah, Valverde is bringing a ton of new players to his side, not a new tactic. Dortmund are about the same as last year. That's why I have it in that order.
And they brought Mats Hummels back in defense.
Exactly. You go
which will
from
help
least
them.
organized to most organized, and that's why I think that, because it's going to be those opening few games that really are going to offer you the most, because these are the groups where every single point is going to make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things, and that's why it's, I think, going to be the most action-packed, most entertaining because every week of matches of these, you're going to have either Dortmund Barca, you're going to have Inter Barca, you're going to have Dortmund Inter. It's
They're
going
all
to be
great matchups.
Oh, it's going to be a fantastic time, and it's going to be.
I don't know how much PTSD Barca has after the last two. What happened to them against Liverpool? What happened to them against Roma?
I would not be stunned if Lionel Messi, for the second year running, I don't know if he won it the year before, but is the Champions League Golden Boot winner and just absolutely dominates because he is the best player in the world, best player in all time, in my opinion. And I think that he is capable of rising to that level. And I think that he has to do that while his players like Griezmann and the other new signings try and get more into the side and more adjusted to the way Barcelona want to play. I think Frankie de Jong is going to be one of the...
Huge addition.
He's going to be one of the best midfielders, if not the best midfielder in the world for the next decade. He's a really exciting signing for them. And overall, Barcelona have a lot of exciting things, but it's a couple months before they're going to be at their peak level, and that's why I think Dortmund are going to take the top of the group.
I don't disagree. I think this as exciting as this group is, then you have UEFA Champions League Group G, which is not quite as exciting.
It's only way it is. It's only what it is, honestly.
No, there'll be some interesting things that will take place here. You've got Zenit, the Russian champions. They've made a last 16. Benfica, Portuguese champions. They are two-time winners. Lyon, third place team that obviously got through with the Chelsea win in the Europa League. They made a semifinal, and then Leipzig, third place Bundesliga team. They've made the group stage.
I like it because all four of those teams are not teams that you would look at and you would say that's a Champions
Ever
League
have a
knockout
chance?
side.
Yep.
But they all really kind of do. I think if we look at the predictions we have, we both have Zenit bottom, but honestly, this is the most difficult group to call because you don't know if Zenit could finish bottom. They could finish first, depending on how the results go. Because legitimately, every matchup is going to be close. And unless one side absolutely storms out of the gates and stuns everybody, I think this is going to be one of the best groups to watch. And it's because of just how close the competition is going to be. There's not a worse team. There's not a best team. A lot of it's mediocre, you could say, but it's really close football, and that's what I really like about it.
Well, they've got a lot of good talent. I mean, but the Lyon's problem, and you've got them top. I have them third simply because they lost Ndombele, Fekir, and Mendy. I mean, that's
Those
tough.
are some key cogs to your team. I think they still got some really good players. They got Hassoum Aouar. He is one of the next up-and-coming players. He's super underrated in my opinion, but they didn't lose everything. They lost a lot of talent, obviously, but Lyon are one of those teams where they constantly churn out those guys. You looked at Lacazette when he was there. He brought the spotlight onto them. And then you looked at, obviously, they sold a bunch of players to the bigger sides. I think that Lyon are the biggest name in that group, and I think that is going to translate to the best results on the field. I think it's Leipzig. The reason I have them in third and you have them in first is they lack European prestige. They haven't made it out of the group stage yet, and that's just why I don't really trust them to do it this year. It doesn't seem too much different.
And they got Nagelsmann in their first year. I don't know what he's going to be able to do for them. Obviously, they've got the forever rumored to be transferred somewhere else, Timo Werner, scoring goals up front. They have USA's Tyler Adams. I don't.
It's tough.
Putting Leipzig at the top of the table was this one was really tough. This and the next group were, I think, the two toughest to pick for me. Like, they were very, very difficult. Moving on, Champions League Group H, the group of youth, if you will, which is strange to say about a club like Chelsea, but we've talked about that. They're the Europa League winner, as well as the third place finisher in the Premier League. They've won it once. Ajax, the Dutch champions, they've won it 4 times. Valencia, 4th place in La Liga. They've reached a final. And Lille, French runners-up, they've made the last 16.
Yeah, this is another great group. I think that it has its own elements of surprise. I think that you look at Chelsea, that's the biggest name in the group by far. But I think that they're the worst team as well by far. I think that they have not showcased enough talent to warrant a discussion alongside these other sides.
A lot of injuries. They have insane injuries.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that Ajax lost a lot of players. Lille lost Nicolas Pepe, your biggest guy. That's why I feel like they have an argument against Chelsea. But Chelsea lost Eden Hazard, who single-handedly carried them at multiple points in the last several years. As well as the fact that Lampard doesn't scream a tactical approach yet. I'm not saying he won't get one. I'm just saying that he is a year or two off. They need to settle taking a step back before they take a step forward. And I think they're going to take a huge step back. I think they're going to absolutely flop in this group. I think that Valencia, the reason I like them the most is that they have maintained talent. They've maintained a strong ability in La Liga.
They're the most stable by far.
Most stable by far, and that's why I like them the most. I think that Ajax still have that prestige, and that's why you have them in first, obviously. Because they have that same ability like Lyon in the group before this one. They create talent all the time, and that's not going to change this year, and it's going to continue.
I'm not as bearish on Chelsea as you are. I think he's got 8 players that are all going to be coming back from injury at some point throughout the next 8 or 10 weeks. I think it will help him.
The counter to that is they got to get embedded back in. There's going to be more turmoil in this squad, and there's already been so much. It's just a question of how much can it handle in a certain regard.
Right. No, he had to that point. He doesn't have a lot of experience there, but I do feel they will be able to pull through just based on his understanding of how European football is played and how to get the most out of those players and get them prepared for these matches.
That is the one thing that they're going to hold on to, is that turns out well for them.
I mean, obviously, Chelsea, from an American player perspective, they got Pulisic. Ajax have Sergino Dest, who may or may not be a USA player. He's been invited to go play for the U23 side for the Netherlands. Alex Mendez also with Ajax, and then USA's Tim Weah on Lille. We didn't talk a lot about Lille. You mentioned losing Nicolas Pepe. He scored 33 goals last year for Lille. It's an enormous tally, right? I don't know if you can make that up.
He's so talented. I think that Weah is going to be very good. I'm not just optimistic because he's American. I'm optimistic because he was good enough to be in the PSG academy, and he isn't going to replace Nicolas Pepe next year, and no one really is. It's such a tough ask.
That's tough.
He was on fire. He was one of the best players in Europe last year. At the same time, though, it's one player you lost. It's not like Ajax or even Chelsea where you lost multiple parts to your team. So they will be able to recover, I think. They will lack that star power, but they will still have the team consistency that finished them in second last year in League One. That's not something you should really just turn away from too quickly.
No, they did well, but I see them bottom of the table. I would not surprise me to see Valencia pip Chelsea here for second place, but I think Chelsea are going to have enough quality, and they'll be able to figure this out move on into the knockout rounds.
It'll be interesting to see.
All right. That's been Jack Conrad. This has been the Footy 5, our look at the Champions League stages. We appreciate it. Please give us a like, give us a comment, take a look. Find us on Twitter at the Footy 5. Appreciate it. Take care now.